Hello, friends. Welcome to Novel Nights. I'm Victoria.
I'm Laura.
I'm Francesca.
And we're all cutesy, mindful, and demure in our pink because it's Mean Girls Day. So happy Mean Girls Day to everyone who celebrates because, we wear pink. What did they say? On Thursdays, we wear pink?
On Wednesday.
On Wednesdays. But the third fell on a Wednesday. Not a Wednesday. So yes, we're wearing pink. So happy Mean Girls Day to everyone who celebrates. However, we're going to get really mean because we're sharing paranormal creatures today because it's a paranormal creatures takeover. And we're in pink, trying to be all cutesy, mindful, and demure. So that's a bit wild, I know. But if you're interested in getting some paranormal book recommendations with paranormal creatures in them, this is the episode for you because you're going to get some fantasy, you're going to get some rom-coms, you're going to get romance, you're going to get literary, you're going to get classics, you're going to get all the things. So again, stay tuned.
I'm Francesca.
I'm Victoria.
I'm Laura.
And welcome to Novel Nights.
Hello.
Welcome to Novel Nights. Just in case you're new here and you're joining us for the first time, I'm Victoria.
I'm Laura.
I'm Francesca.
And today we're sharing paranormal creatures, book recommendations with you. And you might be wondering if you're a regular watcher here, why are we all wearing pink? It's because it's Mean Girls Day. It's Mean Girls Day, so we're wearing pink. Technically, it's on Wednesdays we wear pink, but Mean Girls Day fell on a Thursday this year. So on Thursdays, we wear pink. But before we get into the book recommendations for paranormal creatures, let us know in the comments if you're excited to get some recommendations. If you have some recommendations yourself, we would love to hear from you, but we're going to share a wide range of book recs today. You're going to get some romance, fantasy, classics, literary, just all the things once they have paranormal creatures in them. So before we get into the book recommendations, let's do our weekly update. Let us know in the comments what's new with you. What have you been reading? Anything good? Anything exciting? We'd love to hear from you. Replay crew, we'd love to hear from you too. But Laura, what's new? What's been happening this week?
So it's been good overall, like nothing crazy. Just basically working, putting podcasts together, doing more solo shows. So there's going to be more recommendation episodes happening on the podcast. So preparing that and reading all things Christmas. So I'm in the Christmas mood. Been reading some good Christmas. Some other ones have not made it the list, and because I'm on the rom-com feels, and I can't do the like really sad stories right now. I need like the uplifting Hallmark rom-com, Christmas trees and fun stuff.
Yay, I love that. Francesca, what's going on? How did you survive the hurricane? Because you went with us last week.
Yeah.
For a hurricane update. I know you flooded a bit in the garage.
Yes. So when you guys were live, we had a little bit of power fluctuations, but other than that, we really didn't have too much going on. It was mainly afterwards. We did get storm surge about 2 feet, but I do live on the first floor, so the ground floor is the garage. So that's basically what flooded. But yeah, it's been a week in my neighborhood. There's just garbage everywhere.
Yeah, I can't even imagine. But what's new content-wise?
Content-wise, it's all the Halloween and spooky, witchy things still. I did lots of witchy things last week, and this week it's more gothic, horror, and Halloweeny stuff. So I'm still with all the fall and spooky vibes. I'm deep in there. And as far as reading, I did actually read a book that's going to go in my favorites of the year this week, and I'm going to talk about it here today because it happens to be a paranormal creature.
How exciting! Yay! Well, I mean, not much is going on with me except same old, same old. I'm busy reading, but I'm currently curating for the holiday gift guide. I know we have all these holiday sales happening this weekend. You know, Target, Circle Day, Walmart has a sale, Amazon has their thing. So I know people are like busy already shopping for the holidays. But I'm putting together a holiday gift guide, so I'm working on that. Like Laura, I too am reading lots of Christmassy things. I am still sharing like gothic things. And I've been doing a 30 days of cozies here on the channel. So if you're watching on YouTube, I have a 30 days of cozies playlist. Check that out. Today was day 16. So we have 14 more days to go, but so 2 weeks, but it's been a fun time. I'm also sharing clips on social media, so check that out. I shared on Substack, so it's a Substack exclusive, 9 books I read and loved in the month of September. So if you're interested in that list, it's available on Substack. The link to my Substack community is in the video's description if you're watching on Biblio Lifestyle. Otherwise, search Biblio Lifestyle on Substack. I also shared some book adaptations for the month of October, and one of which is out now. Stephen King's Salem's Lot. I'm excited to watch it. My husband is telling me, wait, because we all want to watch it together. We're all big Stephen King fans in this house. So if you guys are looking for an adaptation, tune into Salem's Lot. It's available on Max. Salem's Lot was Stephen King's 1975 novel. Personally, if you've never read Stephen King, I highly recommend Salem's Lot as a good entry point to his world. It's one of his earliest. It's not the, I love it. I love The Stand more. I was going to say it's not his best, but that's not true. It's really good. I think the Stephen King book that has everything, like everything, is The Stand. But if you're a newbie, you know, read Salem's Lot first. Go watch the adaptation on Max and come join me for a recap next week. I'll be doing a recap live next week. I'm going to see if I can get my husband to come do it as well, because he's a big Stephen King fan and he wants us to watch it together. So I'm holding out, but it's available on Max now. So yeah, I think that's what's new. But outside of that, we have some amazing paranormal creatures books to share with you. If you're just joining us, you might be wondering, why are these 3 wearing pink? It's Mean Girls Day. I'm going to shout it a million times, but it's Mean Girls Day and we wear pink. Technically Wednesdays, but Mean Girls Day fell on a Thursday this year. So we're wearing pink, but let us know if you're celebrating Mean Girls Day. If you even knew it was Mean Girls Day, let us know in the comments, replay crew. We want to hear from you as well. But now we're going to get into the paranormal book recommendations. We're going to start with Laura first. But let us know what you're reading in the comments if you're watching live, and let us know if you have any recommendations as well. So Laura, whoops, that's our schedule. That's coming soon. But Laura, let us know what you're recommending.
So we're going to start with some shifters and ghosts, and then we're going to end with some vampires. A little bit about me. I like rom-coms, as you probably know. I like lighter, funny, like not a lot of triggering. Some of them do have some trigger warnings, but for the most part, they're pretty easy to read. The first book is Her Pastry Shifters by Mia Harlan. So this is a novella. I think it's 99 cents. It's like cheap novella. That you can buy from the from Amazon. But basically, if you're a Great British Bake Off fan and you want to think about, can we make this paranormal? Well, this book is for you. So the heroine and the 3 guys are actually competing in a Great British Baking show, and they're all competing. And the guys realize this is kind of like a why choose romance. So the guys realize that she is their soulmate. So they put themselves out there and share that they're their soulmates. And she's like, oh my gosh, 3 guys wants me more. What else can happen? Well, when they get really happy, they shift into pastries that you can eat and you don't gain weight. So it is a pastry chef. Like, you just suspend disbelief. It's pastries. It's just wacky. It's just fun. But I like this. This is the kind of shifters that I like. I personally don't love werewolves. Like, I don't find them. I don't love the werewolf genre like most of them. So this is kind of like the shifters that I'm like, oh, this would be fun. It's just similar vein to the shifters, like, the door shifting and the pillow shifting. This is kind of like that kind of like wacky novella. So the title is Her Pastry Shifters by Mia Harlan. The next one is Halloween Boo by Sarah Spade. This book is a novella too, and this one is a perfect Halloween book to read. So basically, Heron lives in a haunted house, and she calls the ghost Casper, as one does, because we're all millennial women who grew up watching Casper. And she realized, like, on Halloween, this handsome man comes into her house. It turns out that he's the ghost and he's been haunting. But in one day a year, he can become a human, like a fully formed human. And so they have a one night of passion, and it's great. And then it's over. So, and then he becomes a ghost again. And then she has to wait till like another year. So it's just kind of like the perfect companion of, like, having a ghost hanging around, stuff like that. And maybe just like one time a year, like, he'll become a man, and then you just like go become a ghost. This is a novella. I think this you actually have to pay for it. I do own these ones. I'm not sure if they're on Kindle Unlimited, but these are fun, easy, quick reads. If you're like looking to add more paranormal stuff, more spooky, but you don't want to invest too much time in the book, these are good entry points. So, all right, so we're going to move on to vampires, and we're going to start with the latest read, and then we're going to go moving forward. So the first one is Fan Fiction by Kate Damon London. This just came out on Tuesday. I got to listen to the audio thanks to PRH Audio for it, and it is fantastic. At least the audio is fantastic. It's a multimedia. There's like transcripts, there's tweets, there's podcast transcript, tweets, BuzzFeed articles, and whatnot in between the different stories. Basically, there is actually a strong arc of a sexual assault or SA that happens to one of the heroines, and so we get to see her journey to kind of finding trust and coping with that experience and actually healing from that experience. Essentially, there's 2 main characters there's Tess and Joni. They're best friends. They stopped talking to each other after Tess had the traumatic event, and they both were fan of this like vampire book series that was happening. It's kind of like reminiscent of Twilight in that sense of like, so imagine if Twilight was real. And so this is a story. So they realized that one of the vampires enters New York and realizes, like, hey, I need to go back we need to figure out how to get out of the island and go back. So you need to go talk to my twin. So she sends Tess to the island where the vampires are living, and Tess has to kind of like be the human and try to like save the vampires from there. And Joni and Octavia, who is the vampire who is in New York, they hook up, and it's just a romp. It's just fun. It's just vampires. It's just like New York, urban setting. Like, just imagine if you're like watching a story. These are fully formed older heroines. They're not like teenagers hanging out with 200-year-old vampires, but it's just great. So that's Fan Fiction by Kate Damon London. All right, the next one is A Quick Bite by Lindsay Sands. So this is an oldie but a goodie. This series has like 36 books, but you can read them all as a standalone. The first 3 books are part of the family, and then you can just pick and choose as it goes. But if you want a series to binge on, this series is for you. Most of the books are available in the library of the different libraries. If you're looking for non-resident library cards, I would suggest looking at Cincinnati library card for romance reads. That's actually the best one for that. But let's go back to A Quick Bite. So Quick Bite it's like, I would say rom-com, essentially. Basically, the mother of the heroine kidnaps the hero because he's a psychologist, because the heron has a blood phobia. So she cannot drink blood, but she's a vampire. So she needs blood to live. So she thought the brilliant idea, let's just kidnap the psychologist who can actually like fix her. And so it turns out that they're fall in love, they have lust, it's just a rom-com, and then they turn the psychologist into a vampire. It's just fun. It's a fun family. It's set in Canada. They're all rich and famous and great, and they're fun. They have a blood bank, and it's the logistics of it. And each book is just like a rom-com, so they're good. If you like vampires who are not that creepy, this is a good series for you. All right, the next series is one that I've been reading. It's like my comfort read. It's Some Girls Bite by Chloe Neal. There's 13 books in the series for the Chicagoland series, and then there's 5 books in the second generation of the series. So they should be read as a series order. You should not go back and forth because the world connects to each other. It's a storyline. There's like an ongoing storyline with it, so you might get lost. But it's comforting. The audios are excellent. There's 2 narrators in the audiobooks. The first narrator is great. The second narrator is just as great. So you wouldn't have missed it. So in this series, it's set in Chicago. Merritt is almost killed. And in order to save her, she becomes a vampire. And she doesn't want to be a vampire. She comes from a prominent family. She wants to be a doctor, as a PhD doctor. And so she had to drop out of school and become a vampire and learn how to live in like the nighttime. And there's a lot of politics. There's a lot of like back and forth. And she has to learn her powers. And it turns out that she's super powerful. And there's a romance storyline. There's friendship. There's it's just set in Chicago. It's just fun. I found this series a couple years ago after I left Chicago, and I really love it just for that reason. It's just like it's grounding. But I read actually the follow-up series, and it's just as good. So yeah, it is a good series if you're looking for comfort. And I would say like audios are great to go. And then my final recommendation is I think it's book 5 in the series. It's Rustin Witchface, and I chose this one because it's a vampire, and I've been loving vampires right now. So Rustin Witchface is part of the Stay Spell series by Julia Cross. The first book is a werewolf romance. Second book, I think it's a witch and something else. Francesca may intervene for that. But this one is a second chance vampire romance with a witch. The head of the vampire community and the head of the witch coven have to work together to, I think there's some werewolf issue, and they actually work together, but they broke up. And so the vampire is like, I want you back. And she's like, no. So it's second chance pining, and it's just really good. So this series as a whole is a great rom-com. It's a great introduction to paranormal creatures. It's set in New Orleans, so you get a little bit of city, you get a little bit of small town feel because there's a lot of quirky characters. So it's a great series to read. Yeah, those are my recommendations.
Okay, that's awesome. I was so happy to hear about fan fiction because I enjoyed that one. I read it. So when you were saying the audio was good, I was like, oh, that's good to know. But the one I was keen on was a pastry one.
Me too.
The second, I was like, wait, what? They shift into pastries, you eat them, and you don't gain weight. I'm like, no, that is the kind of madness I need right now. That's the delusion I need.
I think we should do a bunkers romance, like a special episode of bunkers, like the door, the pillow, the couch, like all these like random things. And you're like, can I fall in love with like the light? And yeah,
This is the book, The Pastry Shifters. Mia, listen.
Yes.
Listen.
It's just books in the series. I think there are more books in the series. I think there's like, yeah.
I was so excited. I was like, oh, okay. That's something I definitely should read when I just want to suspend all thoughts or just everything. Yeah, it definitely sounds up my alley. Francesca, did anything sound interesting to you?
Whatever you just said, it's exactly what I was thinking because I couldn't get past that. I'm like, wait, back up.
It's almost like I couldn't hear anything else. I mean, I've heard the other books, but it's just, I'm like, no, that is the book for me. It just, yeah, it really caught my attention for sure. Oh my gosh. But anyways, if you're just joining us, Paranormal Creatures are taking over novel nights. We're sharing all the book recommendations with Paranormal Creatures. Laura just shared a few with us, 6 books to be exact. Let us know in the comments if you've read any of these books. Replay crew, we'd love to hear from you as well. Let us know. But also if you have any recommendations or if you have any books where you just have to suspend all belief, but just get lost, kind of like that pastry one, let us know, because I'm always looking for a recommendation or two, because we love to hear from you. So I always think I'm the odd one when it comes to recommending. I'm going next, and let's just say I'm providing a hodgepodge of paranormal creature recommendations. So, you know, you're going to get some fantasy, you're going to get some literary, you're going to get a classic. I think it wouldn't be me if I didn't share that. So anyways, we are going to start with a vampire. So I made note of the paranormal creature at the center of the books I'm going to share. So the first one I'm going to share is Woman Eating by Claire Coda. I think that's how her name is said. This one is a more literary coming of age story. So this tells a story of a young woman who is a vampire, and she's caught between her desire to live among humans, but also her hunger for blood. So this is set like in the modern world, which is also why it's kind of literary. And we see her move away from home, move away from her mom. She goes to London and she decides to get a flat there with apartments and everything. Now she's struggling being in the city, having to find a sustainable source of pig's blood, because that's what she feeds on. So she's really struggling to find that while also sharing a studio space with other humans. So she's sharing a space with some young artists and stuff like that. And this is like the first time she's really interacting with a lot of humans. So you can understand her struggle because she's trying to hang with them, but at the same time, she's craving blood. So we also see her developing feelings for an individual who's also another charming artist as well. So we see her essentially struggling with trying to exist in the human world, but also being her authentic self, which is a vampire. We also get kind of like human coming of age narratives in this story as well, because we see her trying to deal with just, you know, learning who she is, handling developing feelings, understanding her identity, because she's also mixed race. We also see her having to just deal with just everyday inner conflicts that we would have to deal with as humans. But also she's struggling with trying to satisfy her hunger. So again, this is very literary, so you can expect themes of identity, belonging, you know, coming of age, self-acceptance. But of course, we're getting a vampire story. So you're going to get vampire mythology and lore in here as well. So if you're looking for a vampire novel that is set in a modern society that also kind of reads like regular human stories with regular human problems, then I think you'll enjoy Woman Eating by Claire Coda. Okay, so the next book I'm going to share with you is more contemporary fantasy. It has threads of romance in there as well, but also women's fiction. This is actually a recent read of mine because I read it over the weekend. I was excited to see another witchy book because I was working on a witchy list. So this one is Re-Witched by Lucy Jane Wood. This is also a debut, and it's about a witch who is feeling very disconnected from her magic. But it also has contemporary themes because she's struggling being in a toxic work environment. She's also trying to keep her bookstore alive. And then to, you know, make matters worse, on her 30th birthday, she kind of gets a message from her coven saying, hey, you need to actually practice your magic, hone your skills, and actually use them, you know. So she has to prove her worth as a witch, or she will lose her magical abilities forever. And she has to do all of this within the month of October. So, hey, it's October right now, so perfect timing. So anyway, we see her having to rely on her friends. She also has a mentor, and she also has a watchman for the coven kind of helping her as well. So this is a witchy story, essentially, a witch with powers, not really spending time using it, and now she's facing the possibility of losing her powers forever. It also has like modern themes because you're going to see a story of friendship. Again, self-discovery. It's kind of like a coming of age, but also just how you can rekindle magic in everyday life. This is a very cozy read. So if you're looking for something cozy but magical, enchanting, and heartwarming, I recommend Rewitched by Lucy Jane Wood. Okay, so now I'm going completely left because I told y'all this is a hodgepodge. We're going completely left. Now we're going science fiction fantasy with The Sky on Fire by Jen Lyons. Now, if you've been following me for some time and following Biblio Lifestyle, you might recognize this title because I recommended this in this year's summer reading guide. Now, I appreciated this book. Well, one, more than anything, is that dragons are at the center of this book and they're actually dominant. You know how sometimes you'll read books and like humans or other groups of people, they're like the dominant race? Not in this one. I really appreciated it because dragons are dominant. So in this one, the paranormal creature is dragons. So in this one, the pitch is very simple. We have a dragon rider who survives a death sentence after being accused of something to then, I don't want to say it because that's part of the whole thing, but then they end up in a real plot where they're actually trying to steal stuff. So it's like the thing that you just survived nearly dying for, you end up being kind of roped into this. So essentially they're trying to steal a dragon's hoard. This is very heist adventure with action, with lots of dragon mythology. So if you're looking for something action-packed with complex characters at the heart, but daring escapades, I think you'll really enjoy this one. And our main character has just kind of really gone through a lot. And she survives, like I said, that death sentence and a terrible possible fate. But the people who rescue her, they're a whole separate story. And you realize that, okay, they rescued you just because they want you to participate in the heist. So the world is very transportive. You really just have to dive into this one. But yeah, it's just really, 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 really good. I read this one, I think it was early this year. And I recommended it in the summer guide. So that's my dragon book, is The Sky on Fire by Jen Lyons. Okay, my next book is a vampire book. And I mean, no, my werewolf book, I'm sorry. And it has werewolf in the name. And it's a werewolf's guide to seducing a vampire by Sarah Hawley. Now, I've been enjoying Sarah Hawley's books. She had a witch's guide to fake dating a demon. And then she had a demon's guide to something of the sort with a witch. So I enjoyed those two books. So when I saw the third, I was like, okay, yes, sign me up. And I really enjoyed it. This is more romance meets rom-com. And a werewolf is at the center. I mean, it really says it in the title, A Werewolf's Guide to Seducing a Vampire. So we meet a werewolf who is very interesting, by the way. If you look at the cover, if you're watching us, you'll see that they're potted plants. This man has a thriving plant business. Okay, so just picture this. For me, that was just funny, you know, in itself. A werewolf running a plant business, but yes. Anyways, he unwittingly binds himself to the female character on the cover. She is a vampire because he purchased some crazy crystals online, and he ends up in this whole binding situation. Now, she was trapped in the crystal from a witch's curse. So actually, you're getting witch, vampire, and werewolf all in this one. But anyway, she was trapped in a crystal for centuries. She was desperate for freedom and vengeance. And then, of course, he ends up being binded to her. Now, initially, there are hostilities, of course, but then they discover that, hey, you can help me, I can help you kind of thing. And then we see them kind of embark on a journey, to help each other, but they also get to know each other. And, there's lots of fun on the way. This one, you're going to get humor throughout. I mean, just the setup is funny, I feel. You're going to get the romance, you're going to get the supernatural as well. But I just loved how entertaining the story was, because the vampire, who's a girl, she's very fiery, and the werewolf, is very reserved. Again, this man has a plant business. That should tell you everything you need to know. But it has some unexpected twists, which was really fun, and it kept me engaged throughout. So I really enjoyed A Werewolf's Guide to Seducing a Vampire. Now, the last book I'm going to share with you is a classic, and the paranormal creature element thing is a ghost. And the book I'm sharing is Henry James' Turn of the Screw. Now, technically, all the books you're going to find are A Turn of the Screw and other ghost stories. So if you buy the book, you're going to get, multiples for one. But I'm pitching Turn of the Screw because I think it's a must read. If you love anything ghost based, if you love anything about like nannies, governesses, anyone kind of being haunted, this is the OG. You have to read this book. I revisit it not every Halloween, but most Halloweens. 2 years in a row doesn't go by and I haven't revisited this one. It's just an OG. You might also remember Ruth Ware. She had The Turn of the Key. Again, inspiration from this. I can tell you so many babysitter or ghost stories that really take inspiration from Henry James. Again, OG must read. Again, how do I pitch it? OG ghost story, which basically follows a governess who's taking care of some children, and she is convinced that there are evil forces and that there's a ghost pursuing the children she is supposed to look after. So essentially, it is also the OG of psychological tension and, suspense and just all the supernatural elements. So it's like you're wondering, like, is this happening for real or is this happening in her head? So, I just feel it's a must read at this time of year. So check out Turn of the Screw by Henry James. And those are my hodgepodgey books. What do you all think?
I think the dragon one by Jen Lyons sounds really, really good. I would love to see that society where dragons are higher in society than humans. Would love that. Definitely.
It's a good one. It really, really is a good one. It captivated me in a way that I haven't had like a book grab me. It was just really well done. I have zero notes. It just was good. Again, if you love a heist adventure, and I think that's a good narrative. You're following thieves, but you're also following someone who got into trouble before and they got bailed out by some other people. And you think they're like, oh yeah, gee, thanks. They're like, no, we need your help to actually do the thing. So that was just, it's wild, but it was good. It was really, really good. Oh, Laura, you're on mute.
Sorry, I'm adding that one for sure, just because I'm in the mood to read some dragons. But I talked to Sarah Holly about the Werewolf's Guide to Seducing a Vampire, and we were talking. She says, she basically said, yes, and because eBay you can buy random things, and she found someone was selling a crystal, like a witch's crystal, and she do this, and I was like, oh yeah, you can Etsy a witch's spell, like a love spell. You can go buy $10 love spell to do it. So she did buy a crystal, and unfortunately, there was no vampire in it.
That's so cool, though. That's interesting. Okay, Sarah. But yeah, A Werewolf's Guide to Seducing a Vampire. I think it's great. Again, she has 2 prior books, and they were a good time. Okay, Francesca.
Okay.
What do you have for us?
I brought a mix, mostly paranormal romance, because I feel like I love paranormal creatures. That's my first love with reading or anything. And when you love something so much, it's overwhelming to narrow that down to which 5 am I going to talk about? Little bit of a paralysis there, but I did pick out a few that I don't think I've talked about recently, or at least I haven't talked about here on Novel Nights. And one of those is, like I said, the one that I just read, one of my favorites of the year. And some are like what I would consider must reads in the genre. So we'll leave those towards the end. But I'm going to start off with actually a fantasy romance. This is the only fantasy romance that I brought, and it's very cute. So I'm going to start off light and cute. And that is Forged by Magic by Jenna Wolfhard. That is so the hero is an elf and he's a blacksmith, and the heroine is an orc. And she's basically having to hunt dragons. So she's been imprisoned by this evil guy, and she is offered to get her freedom by going and killing dragons. So in this world, dragons are kind of outlawed because dragon magic is kind of like one of the things that this evil guy fears, that he could lose his power because of the dragons. So he's kind of eradicated. Whenever there's dragons, he sends them to get killed. So that's basically her job. Is she's kind of an assassin, and she is sent on this mission. She's on a ship going to where there's supposed to be this sighting, and there's a shipwreck, and she ends up stranded on this island. And on this island, she ends up meeting this guy, the cutest elf. He's so grumpy. I love a good grumpy hero. So that was all I needed to know. But also, he's like really dedicated to his job as a blacksmith, and he wants nothing to do with her. But the townspeople, they want him to kind of take care of, they don't know what's her deal, why she's here. They don't trust her. So he's assigned to kind of like take care of her and make sure that she doesn't get in any trouble. And there is some kind of a competition going on in the town, like a magical competition. So you're going through that also as she's there, and she's just waiting it out and waiting for her time where she can leave that island and go in search of the dragons. Of course, dragons do come up in the story. So it's super fun, but it's a very cute, cozy fantasy. It is a little bit steamy as well. So it's just a really nice comfort kind of read. So really loved it. I have not read more in this series, but I definitely do want to read more. But I just wanted to give you one where you had both. Both are very unique kind of paranormal creatures. And the whole town, of course, has all these other paranormal creatures as well. So that's the fantasy. Now we're going to move straight into paranormal romance. And I'm going to start light and cute and rom-com with What the Hex by Alexis Daria. So this is actually a novella. It's super fun, super quick to read. And I wanted to bring that up also because it is Latinx and Hispanic Heritage Month. So Alexis Daria is a Latinx author. So definitely a great time for you to pick up this one. And if you did enjoy the Juliet Cross Stay a Spell series, then you will definitely enjoy this one as well. So in this book, there is basically an island in kind of Miami area, and it is where the witches, it's a magical island, so it is where the witches go. And our heroine is going back to the island for her sister's wedding. And the hero is the brother of the groom, and the groom happens to be possessed by a demon. And nobody really realizes that except the heroine and the brother. So they hate each other, but since they are the only two that have figured out that he's possessed by a demon, they have to fix it and figure it out and break that curse and break that spell so that everything can go on smoothly, all in the middle of all this wedding chaos and, all the hijinks. Plus, it does involve the Latinx family of the heroine. So you're going to get also all of that super high drama as well. So it's a really fun one. Again, it's super fast. And if you want a rom-com, I think this is a great one. Also, it's really good on audio. I actually had listened to this on audio when it first released. So, because it was an Audible first, and it's super good on audio too. So really fun, really cute. Also, like if you like that enemies to lovers vibe, it's a great one. So now we go into my, I don't want to say dark, but more of traditional paranormal romance. So they're a little meatier when it comes to the plot and what's going on. So not so lighthearted. The first one is Pleasure Unbound by Larissa Ione. It's the first in the Demonica series. And in the series, we have demons, basically, for the most part. Demons, angels, those are the primary paranormal creatures. And in this one, the hero is a Seminus demon, which is basically a sex demon, so like an incubus. And they grow into it, kind of. It reaches a point of age where they have to find their mate or they will just die. So our heroine, on the other hand, is a demon slayer. So she works for an agency that hunts demons. So that is her sole purpose, is to get rid of demons. And the hero is the lead doctor at an underground paranormal hospital. So this is very much Grey's Anatomy, but in paranormal world. And she ends up getting hurt, and they bring her into the underground paranormal hospital, and our hero saves her life. So obviously, very much so enemies to lovers. She has dedicated her life to killing demons, and now she is saved by a demon and all of these demon workers at the hospital. And so she has to cope with that while dealing with all of the external conflict that they also have going on. So it's a really fun series. If you like Grey's Anatomy again and all the medical drama, you're really going to enjoy this one. All of the demons are doing all of the sex things, as well as you would expect with the medical drama as well, because, that's what happens in the hospital. So it's a really fun series. I really, really love it. Every single book is super high stakes. So there's a really great world building. So definitely one that I really recommend. The next one that I'm going to talk about is my favorite one. Well, the one that I just said is one of my favorites of the year. And it's actually a ghost romance. And it's Phantasma by Kaylee Smith. So this book, how do I put it? It's kind of a little bit of horror romance because there is some gore and some scary parts, but don't get put off by that. It's definitely easy to read, and it's mostly set inside of a haunted house. So our heroine, basically it's in New Orleans, and our heroine goes into this haunted house. They're having a competition that they have all the time. They have it every year, and she's going into it because she's trying to save her sister. So she thinks that her sister went into the competition, and she wants to make sure that she can save her sister. And she goes in and decides that she's going to have to compete to find her. They're not letting her see the other contestants until they reach a certain level. So she knows that she has to go through the levels until she finds her sister. She's a necromancer. We don't really get to see a lot of her skills as a necromancer too much in this book, but in order for her to go through the levels of this deadly competition, she partners with a ghost, a phantom, that is kind of like trapped inside of this haunted house. And he basically tells her, I'll help you, but in return, you have to try to help me figure out how I can come out of this haunted house, because he's trapped there. So they have to work together through these really scary, deadly levels. And at the same time, of course, they're falling in love. And the writing was so good. I kept having to stop and highlight because it was just so, so, so good. There's so much action. The stakes are super high. And there's a little twist at the end, of course. And I didn't see it coming, which that usually doesn't happen. I usually figure things out pretty quickly. So I really loved it. The writing was great. The story was great. The romance was really good. It's steamy. It's got everything. And plus it's a ghost romance. So I don't really get to read those as much. So it was a lot of fun. So the next one, I have two more. And these are what I would consider you have to read them if you are getting into paranormal romance. One is actually an urban fantasy, but with heavy paranormal romance influences. So the first one is A Hunger Like No Other, and by Kresley Cole. And this one is basically a staple in the genre. It's part of the Immortals After Dark series. Technically, they call it book number 1, but I would say it's book number 2. There is a novella that should be read before, and it is a werewolf, and the hero, he's a werewolf, and she is half vampire, half Valkyrie, and there is a fated maid's love story between the two of them. Now, with this series, you're getting a whole menagerie of paranormal creatures. So there's vampires, there's witches, there's obviously all kinds of shifters, all kinds of things. So you are going to go into it looking for all of the paranormal creatures. There is an overarching plot throughout the whole series, kind of like end of the world, but paranormal situation. And the hero in this story is very alpha, and at times maybe you would get a little bit angry with him because he's too alpha, can be too alpha, kind of like very macho. She's my girl, and she's going to do what I say. But at the same time, this is going to sound funny, but one of the things that I really loved about this book, there's a scene where he first finds her, but he can't see her. He's basically trapped underground, and he's been trapped there for centuries, basically by vampires. So he hates vampires, and he smells his mate because she's his fated mate, and she's kind of just walking above the ground, and that gives him the incentive to free himself, something that he hasn't really had that incentive to do for a really long time. And he ends up chewing his own leg off so that he can escape and go find his mate. And obviously imagine that scene when he's like walking behind her to like get to her, and that's what he just did. So like it is a scene that has been stuck with me, but at the same time it was so sweet. So I really love them. And the great part about it also is that our heroine is very shy, very reserved. She's also really trying to find her own identity. She didn't really meet her father, so there's like a whole half of her life and of herself, the vampire side, that she really wants to explore and get to know more. And now she has to also deal with this really alpha, not aggressive, but really strong hero that is definitely something that she has to figure out how to stand up for herself so that he doesn't overwhelm her. So there's also plenty of growth that she has to go through, which I really love seeing. And this book also is set in all these different places, which I really love. The main group, the paranormal group in the series, it's in New Orleans, but in this book we do go to Scotland and different parts in Europe. So it was a lot of fun. So it's definitely a lot of humor and suspend belief and like all kinds of crazy things, but it's a book, it's a whole series. It's a series that has so much fun, a lot of humor, a lot of sexy, and some really high stakes as far as the plot and what's going on in every single book. They are all kind of interconnected, especially at the beginning, so you do need to read them in order. And then the last book that I have is Halfway to the Grave by Janine Frost. This is an urban fantasy with a heavy romance element, and each book in the series follows the same couple, so you do need to read them in order. In fact, we did the whole first season of our podcast was talking about every single book in the series, which it's one of our absolute favorites. I really love Janine Frost. She writes so good, especially her action scenes. Like she's so good at writing action scenes. But in this one, the heroine is half vampire, and she has hated vampires her whole life because she grew up thinking that a vampire had basically raped her mother, and her mother raised her basically thinking that and hating vampires. So when she gets to be an adult, that what she decides to do is to be a vampire hunter, and she just wants to kill them all. And she ends up meeting the hero, who is a vampire, of course, very old and very powerful vampire, but he happens to also be in the business of killing vampires. He's a vampire bounty hunter. And she tries, of course, to kill him and can't do it. So he makes her an offer that he's going to train her to be better at killing vampires. And they're going to have to team up to kill a vampire that he's been after, who's really horrible vampire. So the series follows them working together to kill other vampires, and there's plenty of paranormal and vampire politics. You do get to meet a lot of very interesting characters, especially in like normal paranormal lore. Like Dracula's in here, Marie Laveau is in here. So there's a lot of really fun concepts that come together in this story, in this whole series. And I think that Janine Frost just really writes well all the action, all the really intricate plot and complex things, and also the romance and the steamy times. So I think that it has pretty much everything that you could want. And that's the books that I have.
Hey. So I was sold on that first one, the was it Forged by Magic?
Yeah,
I was like, that sounds very interesting. Then you shared this one, Phantasma, and I think I saw that one, but I didn't read it. So I was like, you're kind of really raving that one there. So I think I might go down that rabbit hole. But then also someone showing off their leg, and then That was wild. That was wild.
I will say that is not the best book in the series.
Okay.
But because that series does have some really amazing books, but that scene will stay with me forever.
I mean, I wouldn't forget that either.
I'm like, what is he doing?
Interesting. Okay, I see Laura had a post. I don't know if they're still there. Intentionally bookish. Francesca,
Spencer.
how obsessed I am with the Night Huntress series. Anything similar to that?
Anything similar to Night Huntress?
Yeah.
The Night Huntress is so difficult because it is one of the few series that is quite steamy and very heavy on the romance. So it's very difficult to give you something that has that same balance. Because like the one that Laura recommended with the Chicagoland vampires has some of those things, but it has much less steam and much less romance.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's a hard one to compare.
Yeah.
You have any recs, Laura?
I don't know, because I haven't read that many vampires. Francesca's our vampire, like our resident paranormal expert. So I'm not sure. I know like some series involved in like urban fantasy. You may think the Hidden Legacy, the Evelyn Andrews, maybe you may find some winners, but they're not that steamy too. So I'm not sure.
Yeah. I will make it a point to think on that. And
I think you should come a post. You should write a post for that.
I will work on that. Yeah. And if I can't find any, no, but I think I will find some. I just have to really sit and think.
Yeah. No, that makes sense.
So, but I'm bumping up Quintessma for that's actually like, and I think it's on Kindle Unlimited right now.
Yeah, it's on Kindle Unlimited, and it is actually quite steamy, I have to say. So, yeah, it was pretty spicy.
Okay. Well, we'd love to hear from you. So let us know in the comments. If you're watching us live, let us know in the comments any of your favorite paranormal books. We'd love to hear from you. Vampires, werewolves, ghosts, any other monsters I'm not thinking of right now. We'd love to get your recommendations. Replay crew, we'd love to hear from you as well. But while I have you, let's talk about our upcoming shows. So next week, we're going to be doing Gothic literature. I have to be honest, that's my wheelhouse. Paranormal creatures is Francesca's wheelhouse, but Gothic literature is mine. I'm such a fan of the OG classics, and I love seeing how contemporary authors are putting their own spins on that. So yes, definitely up my alley. Then following week, we're going to have paranormal cozies. And then the following week, we're going to have witchy reads. So we're very on brand for this Spooktober season, right? Even though we're dressed in pink because it's Mean Girls Day. But yes, so I hope you'll join us again. We go live every Thursday, 7 p.m. Eastern time, even during a hurricane. Because last week, Laura was coming to you live from a hurricane. The only reason Francesca wasn't here was because the power was dipping. Okay? Right? She's sending in the things, So that's what I'm saying. We show up hurricane season or not, because that's fall season for Floridians. Yes. We did do a whole segment on what fall looks like for Florida. So go catch that replay. That was probably 3 lives ago. So go check the archive. But I hope you'll join us 7 p.m. Eastern time for Gothic literature. Following week, paranormal cozies. Following week, witchy reads. So we have that to look forward to. I know Francesca has the Insider. Francesca, tell us a bit about what folks can expect in the Insider.
Yeah, so right now the Fall Insider is free, available to download, and we do have 42 releases in there. I did break them up in different moods because I know that everybody has a different fall mood. So there's some really cute contemporaries that are just very fall themed. There's also spooky, there's gothic, there's paranormal creatures, of course, and there's also some that are contemporary with a light paranormal element, so they're not going to be very scary either. So very light. So all kinds of different vibes depending on what you want. So lots of books in there, plus also other like new releases that you can catch and that we recommend. Some that came out in August, September, or October. So lots of reading in there. I think also some voodoo books as well. So perfect for the season. There's also some recipes in there, some movies that you can watch, all kinds of stuff to get the right vibes for the season. So you can download that at underthecoversinsider.com.
Awesome. And as always, I have the fall reading guide. So fall reading guide is available. Just go to fallreadingguide.com. Yeah, you can't mess that one up. fallreadingguide.com. So you can download your free copy of the fall reading guide. But if you want even more books, then I recommend that you go to Substack, because Substack is where I have the shortlist. And for some reason, what do you call this? Streaming doesn't want me to get my shortlist graphic up. There we go. If you want more books, go to the Substack community, Biblio Lifestyle on Substack, to get your copy of the shortlist. But yeah, I think that's it for us for this week. Anything else I'm forgetting? Laura, what can folks expect on the Substack? What are you working on?
So I'm putting on unforgettable psychological thrillers. They're available in Kindle Unlimited. So if you're a fan of Frida McFadden, there's going to be plenty of recommendations to watch Read After the Boyfriend, which just came out.
Ooh, awesome. So see, you'll have lots to look forward to. So just follow us on all platforms. Social, Substack, all three of us are on Substack. We recommend each other. So if you find one, you can find all. Again, like the video, share the video, tell a friend to tell a friend about novel nights. We gather every Thursday, 7 p.m. Rain, shine, hurricane. We are here once we have electricity and an internet connection. That's the only requirement. But we hope you'll have a good rest of your evening. Again, like the video, share the video, tell a friend to tell a friend, and join us because we're going to have some exciting shows coming up for Spooktober, October. And yeah, we have lots of things planned for the rest of the year. So, all right, everyone, take care. Bye.
Bye.